I just want to say, Pelosi's out there trying to defend, because Democrats have decided, and this also makes me concerned, Clay, we need to go even more into this Ukraine-Russia war with $40 billion. As we said at the beginning, you and I were texting about this yesterday and last night. We got a $40 billion aid package on top of the $10 billion or so they've already gotten. So we're looking at $50 billion, and I know this might sound crazy to some Democrats out there, but $50 billion, even in America today, that's actually a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And we're giving them $50 billion. Pelosi justifies it, of course, by saying, well, this is what the Bible requires.
When you're home thinking, what is this all about? Just think about when I was hungry, you fed me, in the Gospel of Matthew.
Here she is again, by the way. She did it. It wasn't the first time that she invoked the Gospel of Matthew. I think a staffer wrote this for her. I think this is the only quasi-biblical line from a gospel she could actually name. Here she is, though. She likes this talking point.
On that vein, we're talking about when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was needed shelter, you sheltered me. When I was homeless, you sheltered me. We're talking about the Gospel of Matthew. We're talking about fundamental values in our country.
Never trust a commie who cites the Bible, Clay.
Well, how about fundamental values in our country be, let's take care of people in our country first? And I believe you were the first person who pointed this out, Buck, or at least the first person that I heard talking about it. Why are we not focused on the tens of billions of dollars that we are shipping to Ukraine as we are rapidly approaching a cataclysmic situation at our own southern border? Why in the world are we focused on the territorial integrity of a European country when we aren't focused on our own territorial integrity? And by the way, you can build this on a larger scale, but if Nancy Pelosi wants to quote from the Bible, I'm going to be honest with you, Nancy, I'm more concerned about all the moms and dads out there who can't find baby formula on their shelves or having to deal with double-digit inflation for a variety of different products than I am what's going on in Ukraine. And I'm troubled by the fact, Buck, that we spent $40 billion, which, by the way, was even more than Joe Biden requested. I think his initial request, Buck, was $33 billion. And there was almost no debate, and 70% of Republicans just went ahead and spent it. Now, look, I'm not saying that we need to turn our back on Ukraine because inevitably people will write that. No, look, I want Ukraine to defeat Russia. I think that benefits us. But I'm not sure that it benefits us the same way to be spending tens of billions of dollars on Ukraine, which, by the way, is a corrupt, kleptocratic country, where are we sure that that money that we're spending is being adequately distributed? We know how much, for instance, even of the money we spent here in America for PPP was totally wasted. Do we feel like we're getting good bang for our buck here relative to what it means to American interest when so many Americans are struggling? I don't buy into that, Buck.
Let's remind everybody, you brought up our porous, lawless southern border. And you know, to be fair, always, what we do here, and a military invasion is not the same thing as a mass illegal migration invasion, but they are violations of sovereignty, and one matters here in America a whole lot more than the other, despite what, the Beltway elites and some of the media may say. To our day-to-day, what's going on at the southern border matters a whole lot more than the situation playing out tactically day by day in Ukraine. This is one of your colleagues, Fox News reporter David Spunt, on the backlog of cases. Let's talk about what this means.
In 2 weeks, officials expect an even greater surge in crossings as Title 42 will no longer be enforced. Once Title 42 is lifted, immigration judges are also planning for a surge in courtrooms. But thanks to a backlog of 1.7 million cases, some migrants won't see a courtroom for 3 to 7 years from now. The backlog includes cases from 200 countries around the globe.
Clay, let's just think about this for a second. There is no way that you could reasonably do a real asylum case to find out if someone's telling the truth or not in any of these circumstances. The whole point here with the backlog at 1.7 million cases. I mean, think about this. This would take years and
7 years potentially to get all the way through.
The whole program here, the plan is to effectively dissolve the backlog by saying, look, we're just going to give everybody legal status. And then they're going to give them citizenship and let them vote. That is the whole game plan from the Democrats. People want to know what they're doing. That's how they hope to not only reward people for illegally crossing into the country by the millions, but also get around the fact that the American people right now, by the way, including Latinos, are overwhelmingly recognizing the Democrat Party is bad at governance.
Worst numbers for Joe Biden, inflation. Second worst numbers right now, the border. And they aren't just underwater there. They're underwater, Buck, by 30 and 40 points, oftentimes not just with Republicans, but also with independents, even Democrats. I think Joe Biden is doing a really poor job on inflation and on the border.